It's just a public service announcement. Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Ho. H to the O.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Pro Sports Takes, and this is a special episode today, as you might be able to tell just from listening, but we got some mics in the building, and we're going to be sounding a lot more professional with some great takes. And today we got the NBA season right around the corner, starting on Tuesday, and we're obviously recording this before the season starts, and the championship is always on our minds. Always got to have a championship mentality, and this season, obviously, the Lakers are considered the overwhelming favorites to go back-to-back, considering they have the best duo in basketball and got a lot better this offseason. But let's not forget, it was just 2 years ago when the Warriors were in a similar position, and you never know how things play out. I mean, injuries are a part of the game. We saw Anthony Davis even this past year deal with multiple injuries throughout his debut season in LA. So if he were to go down this year, obviously it'd be anyone's championship to win. So who are some teams in a position to exceed expectations and possibly make a run all the way to the title this year? Kind of like how Miami did last year, and we were on the record saying Miami would be the dark horse title contender last year. So let's get into who's going to be the dark horse title contender this year. B, how about you start us off?
Yeah, I like this, Rob. Got these new mics, and now we can get after these takes for real. And now that we're talking about this, man, when I usually look at a list like this, I try my hardest to stay away from the Western Conference. Typically because the Western Conference is such a gauntlet to get through. The Eastern Conference is usually a weaker conference, but now with the Brooklyn Nets and teams like the Washington Wizards making huge transactions, the East is going to be a hard conference to actually go through now. So I'm actually going to go with the Western Conference team this year. And I was really thinking a good amount of time about picking the Dallas Mavericks because of Luka, Mark Cuban, and just the franchise has a championship caliber aura around them.
Yeah.
But I continue to stand on what I talk about over and over and over again is players over 7 feet have huge injury concerns.
Thanks.
And boom, what happened in the playoffs? Kristaps goes down. The Dallas Mavericks realistically did not have a chance after they lose their 7-2 Porzingis, whatever they even call him, the unicorn. So with that said, I'm actually going to go with the Golden State Warriors. And it actually amazes me that the Golden State Warriors are plus 800 points behind the Dallas Mavericks. And yes, of course, they've lost KD to Brooklyn. They lost Klay Thompson for the second time in 2 years. But you got to think about the moves that this team has made. Yeah, they were one of the worst teams in the league last year. Boom, okay, give us James Wiseman. As soon as Klay goes down, they make the perfect move by getting a high energy, great D&3 player that's really progressing and has shown that he has a high ceiling in Kelly Oubre. And they did the same thing in the middle of last year by acquiring Andrew Wiggins. Not same type of game as Kelly Oubre, but these are high potential players that were drafted highly because of their wingspans and their ability to drive and slash and make plays. And when you put this around a highly motivated Steph who can't wait to perform at the MVP caliber level that we know he is, the only unanimous MVP in history, I'm actually really starting to buzz and like this Warriors team, although I've hated them most of their 5-year finals in a row, 3 of the last 6-year title runs. But when I look at this team, I'm actually really starting to like them in the sense of they're getting players that have the ability to reach a high ceiling, and they're putting these players around Stephen Curry. Like, if you put anybody around Stephen Curry, it's easy. He's one of the easiest guys to play with. And on top of that, you have Draymond, who's not really taking a lot of shots, but he's teaching you how to do all the right intangible things like hustle, play great defense. So I just love the direction that the Golden State Warriors have gone, even though they lost KD and Klay Thompson, by retooling, restocking, and pulling up for the ability to actually be a dark horse for the first time in the last 6 years. So I'm going to go with Golden State, and we'll see what they can get done.
Yeah, going with the Warriors there. Obviously they haven't been a dark horse in a while, but when it comes to picking a dark horse team, pretty much cannot pick a team who is being viewed as a top 7 title contender, and right now there's teams tied with that. Obviously you got the Lakers at the very top at plus 275, which might even be low considering how overwhelmingly of a favorite they should be considered. And then all the way down there, you got the Warriors at plus 3,000, and I'm going with an even lower take, and that's with the Portland Trailblazers. So when it comes to the Trailblazers, you mentioned it today of trying to avoid the Western Conference, because when you look at the West, you have a lot of stacked teams. You have a lot of really good teams that got better. You got a lot of great teams that are looking to run it back in an environment that's not as unpredictable as what happened in Orlando. And the reason why I think the Blazers are being extremely underrated is the fact that this is a team that was in the conference finals 2 years ago. People are quick to forget they played the Golden State Warriors in that conference finals. Did they get swept? Yes. But they still have a team that's built to make a run in the playoffs, because that team that we saw play in that conference finals, beat the Nuggets in 7 games, got a whole lot better since then, okay? They've added Robert Covington, who I believe is the most underrated pickup of the offseason. The biggest hole that the Blazers have had in these past few years is they have not had a wing defender to guard the LeBron Jameses, to guard the Kawhi Leonards, to guard the Jamal Murrays on the perimeter. Robert Covington is the perfect fit for them to alleviate the lack of defensive proficiency that you see with Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum, who obviously can get buckets on their own, but aren't really going to bring much value on the defensive end. Not to mention, you've now added Carmelo Anthony, who will never be the best player on a championship team, but they're not asking him to be that. If anything, he's probably going to be the 6th man this year, come off the bench and provide a very high-scoring player coming in that situation, who has proven to be able to hit big shots when they need it, and that's the kind of player that can win games when it matters most. Not to mention, you have Gary Trent Jr., who took a huge step in the bubble and looks to continue that going into this season. So right there, just from those 5 of the big 3 that they had before, and Dame, CJ, and Nurkic, and then adding that with Robert Covington, Carmelo, plus Rodney Hood coming back off of a torn Achilles. He's always been a productive player. And so you really have a solid core in place. You have Zach Collins, a young player who could develop. So from a talent perspective, they have a very quality team. They're a team that's been through the gauntlet of the playoffs and have pretty much beaten everyone except a KD Warriors team that was in their way. Without KD, obviously, he got hurt, but you had the Golden State Warriors, and they just weren't ready yet. The Blazers needed more experience, and you saw what they did last year. They got hurt as fuck. Obviously, Nurkic and Rodney Hood were injured for the entire season, but when they got healthy, when Nurkic came back, they were pretty much in playoff mode for that entire bubble and lit it up. As Dame said, put some respect on the man's name because he deserves it. He's on the 2K cover for a reason. He's probably the biggest offensive threat in the league outside of Steph Curry and James Harden, and at 32 years old, he might have surpassed Steph Curry, considering he just averaged 30 points per game and 8 assists, which Steph has never done both of those in the same season. So when you have a guy playing at a superstar level like Dame is, you have the playoff experience that they have, and this is a team that added probably the best fit for their organization than any team could have added in the offseason. So I really like what the Blazers are doing, and plus 5,000 is just an absolute joke. The fact that they're below teams like the Phoenix Suns with absolutely no playoff experience, it's just laughable. So I don't think either of us are saying, these teams are guaranteed. Obviously the Lakers are favorites, but if that Anthony Davis injury happens, if that LeBron James injury or something unexpected in this COVID season were to occur, these are a couple teams to definitely look out for. A team like the Warriors, who's been to the finals before, they've done it, they have championships to show for it, and they can definitely run it back with Oubre and Wiggins taking Iggy and Klay Thompson's spot. And then a team like the Blazers, who's been through the playoffs before, been all the way to the conference finals, and got the pieces in place to take that next step, to take the jump in Dame's prime season.
Yeah, man, I like the Blazers' take. The Blazers have added some big wing players over the offseason in Derrick Jones and Robert Covington. And those are 2 glue guys that will do anything to really win games. Those are 2 championship caliber pieces that could really take the Blazers over the top. But I also want to go back and talk a little bit more about the Warriors and talk a little bit more about Kelly Oubre and Andrew Wiggins. Because these are 2 players that when they started their career, they were in more boring locations. I mean, Kelly Oubre got to play with the Wizards with John Wall and Bradley Beal. But we saw when Kelly Oubre got to go to Phoenix, we saw his game reach a different level. And Andrew Wiggins, he was in a Golden State for a little while last year after he got traded around the deadline. But when you're in a situation with Steph Curry and a high volume offense, I feel like the both of these players' games is going to reach a complete different level, especially because somebody has to take that Klay Thompson role. And
you think Wiggins' game's going to take a complete different level?
Yes. I think Wiggins is going to be in a situation where he lets the game come right to him. When he was in Minnesota, he was kind of forced to take the ball, get buckets, make something out of nothing. When he's next to Steph Curry, he's going to be the great slasher that he can be. He's going to be a lot more free to do little simple bucket stuff that he's really good at and really focus on using his wingspan, playing great defense.
Okay, yeah, no, I could see him definitely playing a different role. I thought when you meant take his game to a next level. I mean, there's already a guy putting up 20 a game. I don't see him really expanding on that much, especially in an offense like the Warriors.
I see exactly what you're saying. And what I mean more by that is more about field goal percentage, 3-point percentage in that way. Right. I think he'll be a more efficient player. Yeah. I don't think his numbers will be better, but I think when you see his game on the court and see the way that he gels with the team, he'll be an astronomically better player.
So there you go. 2020 sleeper, Miami Heat. We saw how that played out. 2021 sleepers to watch, Warriors and the Blazers. Let's get it.
Let's get it. This is the best place to put your money. So try to take value of these underrated bets and hammer what you can.
So lock it in. That's our take for the day. And you can find all pro sports takes on prosportsoutlook.com, or even better, if you're already subscribed to Pro Sports Outlook's YouTube channel.
And that wraps up this episode of Pro Sports Takes. And remember, we encourage everyone to go ahead and leave comments about the player or even the team you want us to discuss. Tweet us at PSO_sports or simply use the hashtag ProSportsTakes. And we'll continue to monitor what's hot so we can give it a spot on our future show.